if you're talking to a guy, this is how you're going to make him obsessed with you. I got my degree in psychology, and I'm telling you this works. I've done it many, many times. Everyone does the same thing, okay? You're going to text a guy, it's going to be like, good morning, and then you talk throughout the day, you get to know each other, and then it's good night. And everybody does that. So guys are so used to that, to the point where it's like, you're not differentiated between that girl and that girl and that girl. Like, what's so special about you?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
Oh, well, la-dee-da, you got yourself a degree in psychology, huh? Well, that's pretty interesting. I don't see you flaunting around a doctorate or a master's, so under that rationale, I'm forced to assume that it's a bachelor's degree. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news there, sweetheart, but getting a bachelor's degree in psychology really isn't the flex that you think. It's actually profoundly easy to get a bachelor's degree in psychology. I mean, you clearly slept through a majority of your classes because there really isn't any hack that you need in order to get a guy. You just need to be a nice person and you should turn out fine. Now, we all know that you're not talking about members of the illustrious bottom 95% club here. You're operating under the guise that most men are talking to multiple women at once, and that is true for the men who are not members of the bottom 95% club, which means that you're trying to get inside Chad's head, and there's really no point doing that. He's like a finely tuned watch, and you're closer to one of those crappy digital watches, and you can't figure out how to make it stop blinking 12.
I want you to look at this guy like he's your guy best friend, because most of the time, and I know you've heard this before, that a lot of guy best friends end up falling for their girl best friend because it's just such like a real, authentic friendship that turns into like, oh yeah, like he ended up falling for me type of situation. And why is that so typical? Because you are yourself and you don't care what he thinks, and you can tease him, and you can have him be himself without having to feel so like an act, like it's a show.
And that's an interesting thing about mathematics, is when you're 50% right, you're 100% wrong.
You know what? On paper, that might actually sound like something that slightly resembles a plan if that piece of paper was a cocktail napkin and you stained it with last night's $9 Long Island iced tea. Here's the problem, though. If you end up becoming friends with this guy, the second he catches feelings for you, you are instantly going to find him undesirable. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm halfway agreeing with you here. If you're nice to him and he likes you and you guys are just having some fun, then yeah, I could actually see something brewing there, but you will sabotage it the second he says I love you, because you're not going to find him attractive at all. You're just going to find him boring. And that's when the modern woman's traditional hunt of the red flag shall commence, and the second you find something completely meaningless to complain about, you'll kick him to the curb and then wonder where all of the good men went. It really isn't that complicated. All you have to do is be friendly, warm, and actually make this guy feel like you have something to offer, and you should be fine, but you need to make things so complicated because finding a good guy is nothing if you can't do it while being right.
So in order to treat this guy like he's your guy best friend without actually doing that, like it's like your guy best friend that you flirt with, you need to send more audios, and you need to also call throughout the week, but not like 2 hours at a time. Like I'm talking like, oh, this just reminded me of you, like so he can hear your voice. It's more connected, and he'll be so caught off guard because like what girl does that? It's like breaking his routine, but kind of also not being the girl that everybody else talks to. All in all, the whole goal here is you are standing out by doing all these things that nobody else does.
Blasphemer! So in other words, lie. Don't be yourself, don't be kind, put up a front and trick them into thinking that you're not like any of the other girls, when in reality, you're just like every other modern woman. You see guys as your plaything. They're commodities to be used when you need something done or when you're bored. So you want to trick this guy into thinking that you actually care for him, even though you're just looking to get a relationship and not anything really meaningful with someone. You just don't want to be alone anymore, and you think the key to getting this done is to do this psychotic thing where you just pretend to be this guy's best friend, break up his routine, mess with his head just so you can have a boyfriend. Lady, that is incredibly messed up. What's wrong with you? It is not that freaking complicated, but of course, if your life isn't complicated, then it's completely meaningless because you are more obsessed with your girl boss era than you are about actually being a decent person.
So you are going to be the person he looks forward to talking to because you're stimulating him. You're doing something that he's just not used to. So when he sees you send an audio or like a FaceTime, like he sees like you're calling him, he's gonna be like, what the hell? Like, how is she so bold? Like, usually I'm the one to do that. And when that goes away, when you stop calling him, when you stop texting him and sending him audios, he's gonna miss that feeling of like, damn, like I was hearing her voice and like she was so confident and we had this connection, la 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 la. It's like non-comparable. It's like, oh, I text all these other girls, it's kind of boring. And before you hit me with, I am not that bold, I am not that confident, you are the confidence that you radiate. Bye.
Man, that's just mean. That's mean, man.
Woman, you are not bold, nor are you confident. You're sick and twisted. I mean, just listen to yourself. You're talking about emotionally manipulating a guy and having him grow feelings for you and then cutting off contact so he misses you. You're thinking just because you bang Chad, Tyrone, Raphael, Marco, Chang, Wang, Takeda, and Clyde that every single man operates under the same set of principles, and that's not the case. The majority of the men who are members of the illustrious bottom 95% club are lucky to get 1 to 2 texts a year from a woman that he's interested in. If anything, by you cutting off all contact, he's not going to miss you. He's just going to wonder what the hell's going on because you're pulling away from him when he thought things were good between the two of you. And men's emotions are not yours to play with. So it just goes to show that that piece of paper that says psychology is completely and utterly worthless. And I should know, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and all my term papers were about video games and I fell asleep through like 80% of my classes and I still graduated with honors. So what's your excuse?
Oh, this is just so shocking. I mean, I must just be so monumentally naive.
You are.
And I want to take a second here to give a special thank you to the fine members of the Bounty Board over on Patreon for their support of my work. Gentlemen and gents, thank you so much for your support. Fantastic bastards, every single one of you. All hail! And if you're interested in supporting my work, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where for $5 a month, you can get access to exclusive content you're not going to find anywhere else on YouTube. I post up there twice a week on a variety of subjects. I hope I've earned your support today. The link is in the pinned comment down below.
If you've been thinking about leaving him, and you are not ready for a hard truth, scroll on. Please do not watch this video. When I was deeply unhappy in my marriage, I came across a sign in Capitol Hill in Seattle and it simply said, leave him. And I started crying immediately. And I don't even know how I came across this, but when I got home, I read this letter from Dear Sugar, Cheryl Strayed. And it cracked me open. There was in me an awful thing from almost the very beginning. A small, clear voice that would not, no matter what I did, stop saying, go.
Give me cancer now, guy!
This goes out to pretty much every single woman who's quote-unquote unhappy in their marriage. Why in the name of the intergalactic space god Whipscliumacard, all hail, did you actually bother to marry him in the first place? Now, don't give me that claptrap about how, oh, it was so different back then. No, that's not the case here. If a guy proposes marriage to you, he's weighed the pros and cons and decided that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with you, and he figured that you felt the same way. And in your case, you clearly didn't, but that didn't stop you from saying yes, because if you married him, you'd get the presents, you'd get the house, and you'd get the money and all of this stuff. And all you had to do was lead this guy on for a couple of years and then slowly find excuses to resent him so you could. Now, you're being intentionally vague about why you were so quote-unquote deeply unhappy. So I'm forced to assume that this husband was probably just a straight-up good guy, but you resented him, that you needed to find the most pathetic excuse possible to leave him. And what did you come up with? A freaking quote from a random book and a billboard. Let that sink in for a second.
Go even though you love him. Go even though he's kind and faithful and dear to you. Go even though he's your best friend and you are his. Go even though you can't imagine your life without him. Go even though he adores you and your leaving will devastate him. Go even though your friends will be disappointed or surprised or pissed off or all three. Go even though you once said you would stay.
You know, I once met a scum-covered Nangorian used battery salesman who actually was smarter than you, and this guy drank toilet water because he was convinced it was the key to a long and happy life. I mean, lady, what you're saying is one of the dumbest and most selfish things imaginable. When you get married, you swear a vow to have and to hold in sickness and in health till death do us part, which means that you stick by this guy through thick and thin until one of you passes the mortal coil. It's not a vow to be taken lightly, but the second something becomes psychologically inconvenient for you, you need to find solace in some of the most selfish things you can possibly find in order to justify your decision to break this man's heart, to alienate your friends, and completely uproot everybody's life around you just because you felt a little weepy. Woman, you deserve to be alone, and I honestly feel sorry for any guy that finds you even mildly attractive because he must be blind and must be suffering from a severe closed head injury.
Go even though you're afraid of being alone. Go even though you're sure no one will ever love you as well as he does. Go even though there is nowhere else to go. Go even though you don't know exactly why you can't say. Go because you want to. Because wanting to leave is enough.
You! I will think of you as I throw up into the toilet.
Woman, you are a walking, talking advertisement for why men don't want to get married anymore. Even when the man does everything right, when he provides a good life for you, when he sticks by you and is loyal, he doesn't cheat on you, he doesn't get drunk or do any of these things, you will still find an excuse to blame him and leave him because of some feeling that you can't even describe. And when people ask you why you left this perfectly good guy and completely ruined his life, all you can do is quote some crappy third-rate poetry to try to make yourself feel better. You should really look at your face, woman, because you're acting like this is one of the most profound messages to ever be penned by a human, but it's not. It's merely a manifesto that's a testament to the modern woman's sense of selfishness. I mean, lady, what you have done is one of the most mean-spirited and selfish things that you could possibly do to a man. He actually gave up his time, his energy, and his life for you, and in return, you ended up kicking him to the curb because you felt unhappy. That is incredibly selfish.
This letter is like a magic spell. For me, at that time, in my deeply unhappy marriage, it told me exactly what I already knew was within me, that I needed to go. And at other times, upon reading it, it's helped me see that I actually don't want to go. So may this passage serve as a magic spell for you, revealing what your intuition has been trying to tell you all along.
Fuck you!
Lady, you keep digging yourself so deep that you've hit bedrock and you're still trying to dig yourself deeper into this hole of sheer embarrassment. That's one thing I find absolutely fascinating about modern women. They'll find a random passage in a random book that no one's ever heard of, and they'll use it as some type of a holy writ to justify their terrible actions. But lady, it's not that difficult to get a book published. Hell, anybody could do it nowadays. I could actually write up a whole bunch of gibberish and have it published by lunchtime if I really wanted to, but I'm actually a decent human being and I'm not about to try to profit off of people unless the product is of some quality, which you clearly are not willing to do. I mean, let's think about this for a second. You were married to a man who treated you extremely well and he loved you, and in return, you found a billboard and read a random passage in a book and decided that that's what you needed in order to justify your own sense of cowardice. There is nothing stunning or brave about what you've done. You are just a coward.
I know it, your family knows it, dogs know it.
Every man who comes into your life after you watch this video is a friend until proven otherwise. If you are a lover girl or someone who gets their feelings attached way too quickly, this one is for you. This is how you should be dating. Once I've switched my brain to start thinking like this and start dating like this, it has completely changed the game. I used to go on dates. I would meet these guys and I would think, oh my god, this is my husband, I love him, he checks a lot of my boxes, and I would attach myself to him, only to find out that he's not as consistent as he once was. All of the things that he was telling me was really just putting on a front.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
Sounds to me like you're trying to justify sleeping with a whole bunch of dudes, lady, and you really shouldn't do that. There's no justification to be had. You're a modern woman. We expect nothing less. Now, here's the thing. Friends don't date each other. Friends will hang out, give each other crap, and help bail you out at 3:30 in the morning after a drunken night of cow tipping, but they most certainly won't date you. That's not how it works. Now, this is another one of those instances where I'm willing to meet you halfway. Yeah, you really shouldn't get attached to a person too quickly until you get to know them better, but lady, I mean, come on here. Judging from the types of men that you find attractive, those guys aren't really putting on a front. They don't have to. You'll fall for whatever they have to say, hook, line, and sinker. Those types of men could tell you they have a massive collection of aged out rotted cheese in their creepy basement, and you'll still think that he has potential to be your future husband. That's just Chad's way. He doesn't really need to try that hard because he knows that his presence is enough to get the blood flowing to your reproductive organs, and that's all he's really after. Now, if you really want a halfway decent guy, you just have to be nice to him, but you don't want halfway decent. You want the total package, and that's why you're still single.
He didn't want the same things as me. We weren't aligned in our values. And then I would get disappointed and like, oh gosh, when am I ever going to find the one? Date to meet people. Date to see if you can even be friends with people. That's how you should be dating. It's no longer, does this man check all my boxes? Is he fit to be my husband? It's, can I even be friends with him? Can we even vibe together? Can we hang out and have a good time together? That's really what a relationship should be, is can you even hang out with this person and enjoy your time with them on top of all of the benefits that a relationship comes with? It shouldn't just be all the benefits that a relationship comes with, but then you end up hating them years down the line because they never really fit into your life.
Really?
The more that we witness the descent into the hellscape of pure madness that is the human pair bonding era of the 21st century, I am convinced that modern women have absolutely no idea the actual definition of the word date. Just because you make a guy pay for an expensive dinner doesn't mean that you're dating. It means that you're using him for his resources without having to put out. You're not looking for a husband. You're just looking for men that can do stuff for you, and that's not the same thing. Just because you're going out and getting drinks from a guy doesn't mean that you're successfully dating. If anything, the more dates you have, the more you failed. This isn't a numbers game. It's about trying to find a quality person to spend the rest of your life with, and you are looking at it completely backwards. But that's because you're incapable of reciprocating any type of mutual feelings towards a guy. The second he starts to get feelings from you, you're gonna run away for whatever reason you can conjure up in that less than pretty head of yours.
You just force them to fit into your life. So many people are in relationships like that, by the way. So many people choose their partners based on attraction that they felt in the beginning for whatever reason, but then they found out years down the line that they actually ended up hating that person. So now, instead of attaching myself and catching feelings for these guys really early on, I keep them in the friend box until they've hit these three things. Number one, I actually enjoy my time with them and they're cool to hang out with. Number two, we want the same things. We're just friends. We're just friends. I'm not going to give him any benefits that a relationship should come with if we're just friends. If we don't want the same things, he's stuck in the friend box.
Great plan.
Thank you.
He likes your plan, Chief.
No, woman, you don't get to do that. You don't get to friend zone a guy until you feel safe around him. That's not how any of this works. Whenever you give out this so-called advice, all you're really doing is putting that guy's feelings on the back burner and focusing on yourself. That's all you know how to do. There's absolutely nothing about how this guy feels for you. It's all about how he makes you feel. You couldn't care less about the guy. It's all about you. You. About how you feel, about what you want, and then your values. Well, that is if you actually had any values, but come on, lady, we all know you don't. And you're basing this entire system of yours on emotions, about how he makes you feel. And if you're not madly in love with this guy from day one all the way to the end of time, then you end up hating him because it's always the guy's responsibility to make you feel good. And the second he falters in that, all of a sudden you hate him. This is why guys have walked away from dating. It's just not worth it anymore.
And that's okay. That is why people end up in situationships. They don't want the same things, but they're trying to prove themselves to this other person because they think that they can change this other person's mind of what they want. So if that person's not looking for a relationship, keep them in the friend box. Don't give them the benefits of a relationship if that's not what they're looking for. Number three, our values align. If our values don't align, this is not a long-term thing. Even if we both want a relationship, but our values don't align, he's just a friend. He's just a friend, and he does not get the benefits either.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You know what, lady? When you talk about benefits of a relationship, you're talking about sleeping with people. That's all this is about. If you like a guy, don't sleep with him until he matches with your values. I mean, okay, sure, fine. I could see that, but when you talk about the benefits of the relationship, you're not talking about emotional security, you're not talking about trust or even loyalty. You are talking about bedroom fun. And you're acting like this is the end-all be-all of a relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, it is important, but it is not the only factor that goes into creating a relationship, woman. And it's kind of sad that I have to be the one to tell you that. Even though it's really not all that surprising, you chased after the best men who were only looking for that, so you just assume that's what every man wants. But I hate to break it to you, sister, if you're actually looking for a meaningful relationship with a good man, you're gonna have to offer him something a little bit more than your crusted out scum bucket of never-ending regret. And that is going to do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.